Hello.
Dylan, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, man?
Really great. I appreciate you making the time. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, this is a fun podcast. I wanted to get going, and I wanted to have you on it. We just started playing your song on KFDI, so let's officially start. It is beginnings, sort of origin stories of some new artists, how they came about, what they got going on, and where you're heading. So, uh, kid from Indiana, kid from
Yes,
Indiana.
sir. Yes, sir.
What was childhood like for you as a kid growing up in Indiana?
Man, it was a lot of baseball growing up, that's for sure. Sports, everything like that. I was really involved in sports, and my family as well was super, super involved with me playing ball. And I had a little brother and two little sisters, so we were always on the move. It seemed like every summer. But I'm from a town. It's kind of not a small town, but not a big city. It's called Terre Haute,
Yeah,
Indiana.
yeah.
And I felt like it was a good balance of like we kind of lived right outside, on the outskirts a little bit. So we got a little bit of the country life, and we had a lot of land out there, which was really nice. And then 10 minutes later, you could be downtown at the mall or over at the movie theater and
Right.
hanging out with your friends and stuff. So I felt like it was a good balance, but I really enjoyed it. I try to get back up there as much as possible, and hopefully I can get back up there in the next couple of weeks to see my family and everything.
My wife is from Warsaw, Indiana. We've gone up there a couple times here in the last couple of years. So,
Very
beautiful,
cool.
yeah, beautiful state. So baseball. What position did you play?
I played mostly center field and I pitched a little bit towards the end. I stopped playing when I was around 16 years old, but because I wanted to be serious with baseball, that was kind of my dream at first growing up. And then the music kind of got in the way, which thankfully it's been a good, outlet. But yeah, I mean, baseball was everything up until I got into the music.
Yeah, you're not the first to give up sports for country music. There's a whole Chase Rice, Riley Green. I mean Brett Young. The list goes on and on.
I
Uh,
know, I know.
so, well, it's a good place to start. As far as school, how were you in school? Were you a
I
troublemaker?
was
Or like a friend to everybody?
no, I was pretty I was cool. Like I was pretty chill, like kept to myself most of the time. Like I had a lot of friends, but I didn't really love school,
Okay.
and it was never really a place I was excited to be. But no, I did really well in school. Had good grades. I went up through halfway through high school, and then when I started coming to Nashville, I started doing online stuff, and I ended up getting my high school equivalency like right after sophomore year because I got my songwriting deal down here and started putting a lot of focus into this. So thankfully, my family back then was super super supportive and excited for me, and they were all about my decision there. But yeah, school was cool. I mean, sometimes I miss it, just the getting to see people every day and
Sure.
all that type of stuff. But
It's
other than
interesting.
that, I was pretty, huh?
I was going to say it's interesting for someone who says that you really didn't like school. The online learning must have actually kind of spoken to you a little bit more, as far as been more your jam, more what you wanted to do, rather than having to
Yeah,
walk in a physical building.
I feel like everything too, like when you can go at your own pace is just nicer for me. I mean, even with um for example learning guitar, like I started taking lessons and I was never really into it. I didn't really have the patience, and I feel like that was one of the biggest problems. So like when you can go at your own pace and just kind of get things done as you need to,
Yeah.
it's kind of a better like platform for me for sure.
All right, let's talk about the first time, or one of the first times you got in really big trouble with your parents. Do you remember what that was?
um
'Cause this is coming from somebody. I'm a wooden spoon survivor. I swore at my mother once.
yeah,
I dropped the f bomb once at my mother, and she chased me up the road and got a hold of me, and the wooden spoon corrected me of that behavior.
yeah, that never works out. I feel like one of the biggest things was for me growing up always getting in fights with siblings, and probably like the holidays, when
Okay.
everybody gets there. I remember one specific time I got pretty tore up after it because me and my brother got into a fight, and he's bigger than me. He's stronger, he's taller than me. But he's what is he? He's 3 years, about 3 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
So when we were real little, I had a big advantage on
Yeah.
him, and I think
Yeah.
kind of slammed time, and uh, he hit his head on the ground pretty hard, and they were
Ooh,
pretty upset. And it wasn't just them; it was like everybody in the family. And I was like,
sure.
I should probably lay off. But he was always a big kid. Like he was always growing up a bigger kid, and he kind of had that macho-ness. So I feel like it was always that type of stuff. There was a lot of those fights.
I feel
Uh,
that's a sibling thing. My sister and I used to have some pretty knockdown dragouts as kids. Just, I mean, siblings.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, on the other like end of things, I was usually a pretty good kid. Always pretty honest with my parents. I can't think of a specific thing.
Okay.
But
And that's not a
oh, I
bad
guess
thing.
there was one time that was a really big deal. We were going to Hawaii, and it was my whole family. My grandparents always wanted to take us all to Hawaii, so we finally got to do that. I think I was going into, I want to say maybe it was like going into high school summer, so I would have been like 14, 13, 14, and then my
Huh?
cousin was 16, 17. And we had went, this is the first time I ever flew or anything like that. So we were out at LAX because we had to go from Indianapolis to LAX. And um me and my cousin get this bright idea. Oh, we got some time for a layover. Let's just go get on a bus and drive to a Taco Bell because we weren't satisfied with any of the food that was in the airport.
Right.
We didn't tell anybody where we were going.
Oh,
Nobody knew, and we get on this little like tram thing and go down the street to like a hotel. And there's a Taco Bell in the drive, like out in the front. We go in there, we eat, and we're coming back, and everyone's like, "Where you guys at?" And we didn't even think about it. Like we have to go all the way back through security.
yep.
So they're like, well, "We're getting ready to board," and we're like, "Okay, we'll be there, we'll be there." And we get in this line. The security line's huge.
Oh no.
My mom's like prepared to like stay behind in LA with me and my cousin, and everybody's about to just take off and go without us. And um, we're coming up through the line, and we're like, "Excuse us, like, can we get through real quick? Like, please, like, we're about to miss our flight. Like, we don't have any bags. We're gonna be really fast." And this one guy, he like stops us. He's like, "Where do you guys think you're going?" And we're like, "Oh man, like our moms are gonna kill us. Like they're freaking out. We gotta get this flight." And he's like, he starts laughing. He's like, "No, I'm just messing with you guys. You guys can go ahead." He's like, "We got to get these guys to the front. Their moms are gonna kill them."
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
yeah, yeah. Which that was funny. It was really like hysterical at that moment. But then when we got back there to the gate, we kind of got
Yeah. Mom wasn't laughing.
no, they weren't laughing. But we were like, "We made it. It's all good." But that's a good story.
That is a great story. All for some
Yeah.
Taco Bell. Hey, look, when you want to get some of that Mexican pizza, listen, you'll go to great lengths for that Mexican pizza. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I love me some Taco Bell, man. So absolutely.
You talked about the holidays sometimes causing some of those fights. Did you have a favorite holiday?
Um, as far as like the family and the get-togethers and stuff, I liked Christmas because we used to do. We would always go to my grandparents' house like for Christmas Eve and then the day before Christmas Eve, and we would all go out there and the whole family, like the cousins, my aunt, my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, we'd all spend the night there and then
Yep.
wake up Christmas Eve morning and have breakfast and hang out, and then we get to open presents Christmas Eve there, and then we'd all go home, and do our own thing. So that was always fun. But other than that, I love Halloween. It's
Yeah.
not a very inclusive holiday, I guess, for like the family or like those good times or anything. But I'm just a big fan of
Right on.
of spooky stuff.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get into Dylan the artist now. You got your new single, obviously, "Ain't Missing You," playing it here on KFDI. And that was the song that kind of piqued my interest and my attention when it came to you. Um, Kind of a late bloomer as far as the music industry. I've spoken to people in the past. They started singing when they were 3 years old and playing guitar when they were like 6. You were more in your teens when it all kind of clicked, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. The first time I ever picked up a guitar, I was probably 7 or 8, and like I said, that was the time that I was doing lessons and everything like that. And I went for like a couple of months, but I just wasn't into it. It was taking too long, so that was when I kind of put it back down, focused on sports. And then when I was like 13, 14, I was probably 14, I want to say, going on 15, and I started getting to country music, like about 10 years ago. That little era of like when FGL first came out and
Yep.
Luke Bryan and Aldean, they're having all those summertime, good jamming records. Um, I was going to middle school, and that was kind of how I got exposed to it. I was playing the songs that I was listening to at the moment, for all these new friends I was meeting, because 3 schools came together into my middle school,
Okay.
3 elementary schools. So we were all going to these parties at some new friends' houses, and they were playing the country music, and I just fell in love with it. I downloaded like all that stuff like right then and there, and that's when I decided I wanted to start learning guitar again. I got an acoustic guitar. My parents gave it to me, and I started teaching myself, and that was kind of how it kicked off.
Nice. It's good. You stuck with it. Do you remember the first song you wrote? The very first song you wrote as a kid, like your first attempt at songwriting. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it's called "Like a Friday Night." I actually have a version, like a old recorded version that I came to Nashville and did my first EP down here with a company. I have like 5 songs that have never been released, but they're on my phone. And that was the first one I ever wrote. And then the second song I ever wrote was called Finally Letting Go. And that's on there too. And that was the first time I ever wrote with somebody else. It was my best friend. His name is Gabe Faust. And we grew up together playing ball. And then he got into the whole music thing. He was a drummer beforehand.
Right.
So I kind of knew some music stuff. But I was like, dude, you should write songs with me. And then he ended up coming out on the road with me, selling my merch for a couple of years after he got out of high school. And now he has his own songwriting deal here with Kane Brown.
Oh, great.
So yeah, we both are doing it. So it's all. He actually just had a song go to radio yesterday. It was
Oh,
Kid G, Daylight Savings. He
yeah,
wrote that.
yeah. We're playing that too on KFDI. I've actually reached out to his label to see if we can get him on. So maybe he'll be a future guest. Who knows?
That's
Um,
awesome.
who did you tell first that you were getting ready to sign your very first record deal? Who was the first person you told?
It was probably Gabe.
Okay.
He's always been like super involved. I mean, my parents already knew because they were like on the road with me all the time at that moment.
Right.
So it wasn't like anything I told them. They were involved with my business as well because I wasn't even 18 yet. So they were like
Sure.
knew all
Sure.
secrets. So I feel like it was probably him because he's just been like so supportive of me and like so excited about everything I've been doing since we started making music together. I mean, we were in a band together back when we were in high school before we were actually writing songs together and stuff too. So he's always been along for the ride. But yeah, I was getting ready to sign with Interscope Records. I was 17. I was signed there for a couple of years, and it was surreal, man. It was just like a cool feeling, you know. That's like I feel like when you start before you like even like know everything about the business or there's so much to learn as you go, but like that's a milestone that you like always want to hit is like, oh my gosh, I'm about to sign a record deal.
Well, yeah, that's validation, right? I mean, you're putting in all this
Yeah.
hard work, the singing, the learning to play the guitar, all of it, the touring on the road, playing shows and things like that. That's validation for you to say, maybe this is a thing for me, you know?
Yep, absolutely, man.
So do you remember where you were the first time you heard your very first song on the radio?
I was in my hometown.
Okay.
Um, it was really cool. I was with my manager at the time. Gabe was in the car with us and my dad, and we were at Chick-fil-A in the parking lot. We went to Chick-fil-A and we all got food and we were hanging out there. And this was like back in 2016. It was when I put out my first song ever. It's called You Heard Wrong. And it was having a lot of success. It was like pre-ordered, like the number one pre-order on the country, iTunes thing before all the streaming stuff came along.
Right.
And it like blew up on the chart like right when it came out, and then all the radio stations were like super super supportive and excited that a hometown kid was putting out music, and everything was getting a lot of attention on the internet and stuff like that. So that day it came out, we went there and they were saying they were going to play it. We waited around and we were just driving in the car all day, and then finally it came on. And there's a video I think on my Instagram somewhere of like the first time it happened. It was pretty cool, man. It was a wild experience.
Plus, that Chick-fil-A drive-through always packed, so you had a pretty big built-in audience to begin with, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's right. We just turned the radio all the way up
yeah,
and
people
let
love the
everybody
Lord's.
hear it.
They love the Lord's chicken. They sure do.
Right, that's right.
So you mentioned the internet and social media and streaming and all of that. How important has a platform like TikTok been to you and your success?
Um, TikTok's been huge, especially right now, because I started out in the very beginning on Instagram and Facebook. Even before that was YouTube. I was just doing full length covers, whatever I could to put out there. I didn't understand it entirely yet, but I got noticed on there and then came to Nashville, and that's how this whole thing started going. But with TikTok most recently, I wasn't like super eager to jump onto TikTok, just to be honest,
Yeah.
because I had already done so much social media stuff, and it's a grind. I mean, especially now, even more than ever. It's very busy, but I finally was down in Texas last year at Granger Smith's farm with some people, and I met a few other TikTok influencers. Caden McGuire is one of their names, and he he was already a fan of me. He had seen me in concert a few years back, and we ended up clicking like right off the bat and became really good friends. And I went back down to their house a couple of weeks later, and they kind of just helped me with like understanding the platform and how to use it and the best things to post, this and that, what to say on there, and just started messing around with it, having fun. And I got a little bit of stuff going, and then I ended up teasing "Ain't Missing You."
Yep.
So for right now with TikTok, like I said, especially, it's been so important because it kind of got that song's feet off the ground. I mean, it was not even a finished demo when I put that first snippet on TikTok. So when it got like 100, 150,000 views right out of the gate, I was like, man, this is
Yeah.
cool. And you get validation of like seeing what people want and what the fans like, and what you need to, work for. So I just kept kind of pushing that, putting more videos out. People started, gravitating to the sound and that song, putting their own videos out. It was cool. You could see like girls like moving on since their breakup and posting videos of them being happy, and pictures, of them just like feeling good again. And then there's the guys that or the toxic new boyfriend
Yep.
looking back at the old guy, wanting to throw a little shade, which is cool. So they're all making videos with that, and it's just been cool to see like it kind of empower people to like be like, man, like, people are feeling better. These girls are getting through their hard times, and guys are stepping up and being better men than the last. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it kind of is the reason that the label got excited. We recorded this song, put it out last September, and then now here we are finally getting to go to radio. The official ad date is next Monday, but
Sure.
you guys are already playing it,
We
so
jumped early. That's how
thank
much
you
we love.
so
We jumped
much.
early. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's social media like TikTok. It's almost instant test group for you. It's almost an instant test group for you. Some research coming right back at you to see how people are reacting to it. So I mean, there's a benefit there. The song ain't missing you. Is it a little autobiographical, or is it just written about some guy somewhere, or what's going on?
Everybody always asks that, especially at the time that I wrote it. It was never in my head coming from me or
Right.
a specific thing. But when I think about some situations, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess I've been that guy
Okay.
that has helped somebody through it, or made somebody or helped somebody get through a tough time. But then also, I kind of came up with the idea. I had it for a long time, just from being around, my friends, fam, anybody that's going through a rough time,
Yep.
and watching them be, in that heartbroken status of post breakup, and you have to be the shoulder to cry on and listen to their stories and help them get through it. So it was just kind of like about that emotion and that feeling more so than an autobiographical experience. But maybe down the road it can come a little bit more to fruition. That'd be pretty cool.
Sure. You're gonna cover both ends of the spectrum here. First of all, strangest, weirdest, most awkward gig you have played.
Oof. It was really fun. It ended up being a great time, but we got to this spot. We were on like a 2 week run out in the West Coast. And whenever we go out there, I think this was the first time we ever did it. Whenever we go out there, we always pretty much end up out there for, like I said, 2, 3 weeks
Right.
straight, just hitting all the markets. And we were up in this town. There's a little town in Oregon. I can't remember what the exact name was, but I'll explain to you what was going on. So we got there. It was like a school. It was like an elementary type school, or maybe a middle school, something like that. And there was a big auditorium. And we were originally slated to play this big auditorium. And they booked us out a few months prior. And we get there. And I think that they had anticipated, excuse me, to sell a few more tickets than they ended up selling.
Sure.
And they were like, this room's too big. So they move us into this like little side, like faculty lounge room with
Okay.
like individual seats, like a few rows back. I mean, there's probably 100, 200 people there, and they're all crammed in this little room. We have like a little PA system on this tiny little stage with all five of my band guys at the time. Now I only have three rolling with me right now, but then we had two guitars, bass, keys,
Sure.
drums, and then me. And
And they
it
put you in
was
the
just,
teachers' lounge.
yeah, and yeah, and they paid a pretty penny. I mean, it was like a private show, so we got some money, but for like the money that was paid and
Yeah.
the experience we thought we were gonna get
Yeah.
to it, what ended up happening, it was like, what is going on here? It was a trip, man. So that one was probably one of the weirdest, wildest ones,
Okay.
but I'm sure there's some more.
Let's go to the other end now. One of the biggest shows, like the biggest moment of your career so far.
Um, Oh man, there's a lot of them, but my one of my favorite moments ever, and it will always just stand out. Is like it's always these little things that like you can check off the box. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
one of the things was I got to play. I went on tour with FGL like in 2019, right before the pandemic happened. We did that whole summer together. It was me, I guess half the summer. I jumped on, Hardy jumped off, and then Kanan Smith took Hardy's full band spot. And I had just signed a deal with FGL working with them. So they brought me out for the rest of the summer, and it was me, Kanan, uh, Morgan Wallen, Dan and Shay, and the FGL guys. So that was just like the coolest summer of my entire life because FGL was like the biggest like influence, I guess, musically and
Right.
style wise and performance wise, like across the board. I mean, I just fell in love with all their stuff out of the gate, like I said. Um, and BK and Tyler were both so cool. The one weekend we were in Florida, we went to West Palm and Tampa. And I mean, this is just like a dream come true for me. I put out this EP with the new deal that I was working with them, and I had a song on there called "How to Country," and I was already on tour playing my songs. You know, I was playing in between sets. We were doing acoustic stuff for the whole new EP we had done with some of their band guys,
Yep.
but they played their full set at the end of the night. And that weekend in Florida, they added my song "How to Country" with their full band, full production on this
Wow.
in front. So I got to go out in front of that massive sold out 30,000 crowd, and I got to play my own song in their set, which like that's like the coolest thing I think a
Amazing.
fan growing up could ever do, you
Yeah.
know.
That's
And I
amazing.
got them just in the nick of time, you know. I'm glad that they were still together and everything was still
Right.
rocking back.
Right.
I would have been pretty bummed if I never got to do that, but that was the coolest thing ever, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's look ahead. What's coming up for you next? What are you working on?
Right now, we just cut vocals on a new song that's probably going to be coming shortly after um, Amos and You hits radio. And then we got a bunch of stuff just kind of chilling. A couple other songs that are finished. We're just trying to figure out the rollout. So new music very soon.
Okay.
And we're writing all the time. I'm actually getting ready to go to a write here in a little bit. So I'm trying to just stack up the music and figure all that out. You know what I mean? But also, we got the Granger Smith tour that we're going to be hitting starting next week, and I'm very excited about that because it's his last tour ever, and I've
Yep.
toured with Granger since like 2017 here and there, and his whole camp's been nothing but good to me. Granger's a great dude out on the road. They're just very inviting, like take good care of us out there. So I was very honored and happy that they asked us to be a part of this one. And then after that, we got a few shows with Kane Brown that I'm really excited about. We just played a festival together on Saturday, which was a good little warm up kickoff thing that we kind of could get in the groove of. So we got three, I think, at the end of August and the start of September. So really excited about that. And then obviously Ain't Missing You making the official impact in a week. And you guys are already playing it once again. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very thankful, man. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you're with Kane Brown, I'm not sure if you know this or not. I had a chance to talk to him when he was in town. He loves horror movies. He loves scary movies. So
Yeah.
you being a Halloween fan, chat him up for some of that scary movie stuff. Find out what his favorite is.
Absolutely, I will. We'll probably have to watch one or something at some
Yeah.
point. I mean, we're gonna be posted up in Lake Tahoe for 2 nights straight, so we're
Yeah.
gonna have time for all of us to hang out.
All right, let's finish off with some rapid fire questions here, just so we can get to know some weird little things about you. Favorite food?
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay. What now? Real spicy or what's your sauce?
I keep it mild. I
Okay.
like mild. I think the hottest I go is like a 3/4 of the way up the chain. Probably like a Caribbean jerk or something.
All right. That gem and jalapeno. That's my thing right there. That is so
That's
good.
my thing too. I was gonna
Yes.
say
All
that,
right.
but I
This is
didn't
why
know if you would know that
this is
one.
why we're friends, dude. This is why we're friends.
Yes, so
Least
good.
least favorite food.
Um, like sashimi, like raw sashimi.
Okay. All right.
Not
All
a
right.
big fan.
Hunting or fishing.
Fishing,
Okay. Beach or lake.
beach.
Does Indiana really have the best sweet corn on the planet?
I would say so. I mean, we got like the most corn on the planet.
Okay, fair enough. Every time I go up there, I get dragged by my wife. She's like, "This is the best sweet corn ever." I'm like, "Okay, well, okay, that's a pretty big statement."
Hey,
Um,
we're proud.
yeah, sure. And favorite movie?
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's got Oppenheimer coming out, which was God. Can't wait.
So excited, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, Dylan Schneider, continued success. You got some big things on the horizon. Your new single, "Ain't Missing You." We got it here on KFDI. We're going to play the heck out of it and watch it climb the charts and see what's next for you. All right.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you being a guest on Beginnings.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.